In late May 2025 in Jakarta, French President Emmanuel Macron signed an $11 billion defense deal with a smile that barely concealed his sense of relief and triumph. Just 3 weeks ago, the European media is still full of reports that Indonesia, due to the Rafale fighter aircraft in India and Pakistan air war in the hands of China's J-10C, may be torn up worth $8.1 billion of 42 orders, and this moment, Indonesia has not retreated, but an additional purchase of 12 Rafale. This dramatic reversal is ostensibly due to the fact that the order is for 12 additional Rafales, pushing the total number of orders up to 54. This dramatic reversal, the surface is the triumph of French diplomacy. Is actually Indonesia carefully directed a small to big geopolitical game, when the J-10C in the actual combat will be Rafale? Down the smoke has not yet cleared, Jakarta but skillfully will be the loser. The label of loser has been transformed into the sharpest bargaining chip on the negotiation table. The urgency of updating the Indonesian Air Force's equipment is the underlying logic of the game. As an archipelagic nation with more than 17,000 islands, its long coastline and complex geopolitical environment make its air power the lifeline of its sovereignty. However, its main fleet of aircraft, American-made F-16s, Russian-made Su-27, 30s, etc., is on average more than 30 years old, and some of them are even facing a structural aging crisis. 2023 Indonesia's defense budget is only $8.8 billion, the second highest in Southeast Asia, but it needs to support a fleet of 42 F-16s. Indonesia's defense budget in 2023 is only $8.8 billion, which is the second highest in Southeast Asia, but it needs to support a number of costly procurement projects, including 42 Rafales and 36 F-15Xs. This huge gap between budget and demand has forced Indonesia to find an extremely fragile balance between performance, cost and speed of delivery. It was against this backdrop that the Indo-Pakistani air war on May 7, 2025, became a turning point that upended the traditional logic of military trade. Pakistani Air Force J-10CE with PL-15 missiles shot down a number of Indian Air Force Rafale in over-the-horizon air combat. The actual combat performance completely shattered the myth of invincibility of Western warplanes. Indonesia's domestic public opinion instantly boiled. The public questioned why to triple the price of the J-10CE procurement of the defeated general. The parliament even launched an urgent review of the Rafale order. However, the cost of tearing up the contract is too high to bear. The deposit of $1.3 billion has been paid will be lost, but also need to bear as much as 30% of the total amount of the contract liquidated damages. More critical is that France previously provided €1 billion in low-interest loans and palm oil to pay the terms of the economic and political interests of the depth of the nested. The breach of contract means that the entire Western military system at the same time offended. Jakarta's policymakers know this, so they have made a subtle, strategic leak through the defense media to release the turn to China's second-hand J-10 signal. These unit price of only $30 million can be retired F-5 discount replacement, promised to deliver within 90 days of the warplane, as a dagger against the throat of France. Macron's firefighting visit to verify the power of this strategy. In the face of Indonesia throughout the J-10 option, France was forced to make unprecedented concessions. Additional 12 Rafale unit price plummeted to $120 million, a 38% plunge compared with the original price. The total cost savings of more than $800 million. More groundbreaking is that Dassault Aviation has opened up its core military technology to Southeast Asian countries for the first time, not only allowing PTDI Indonesia to participate in the manufacture of components, but also transferring the radar source code of the F-4 standard upgrade package, which was classified as a core secret that will never be disclosed. 6 years ago, the French side also expanded the scope of cooperation with the defense family bucket, adding 2 new revolutionary, all-lithium battery-propelled, Squid class submarines, FDI frigates, and Kaiser self-propelled artillery, which is a direct response to Indonesia's strategic need to strengthen the defense of the Natuna Islands. The islands are only 500 kilometers away from China's South China Sea Islands, where the Rafale can be deployed to cover the throat of the South China Sea shipping lanes. This series of concessions is in fact a passive compromise by France on the new military trade rules forced by the J-10C. Egypt has called off negotiations for a second batch of 30 Rafale, and the UAE has shelved its $23 billion purchase plan, and is instead studying Chinese early warning aircraft and data chain systems. Intriguingly, Indonesia's exploration of the J-10 is far from a bluff. Defense Minister Shabuli announced on social media that he would send pilots to China to receive J-10 training, which was later deleted, but confirmed the depth of the contact. The choice of the used J-10 over the newer J-10C reflects Jakarta's shrewd calculation. On the one hand, these early models cost only one-third of the price of a new aircraft, and China can immediately deliver them from the active fleet, a perfect solution to the urgent need for a combat vacancy. On the other hand, they are equipped with a Russian-made L-31F engine that is compatible with the existing fleet of Indonesia's Su-2730s, so there is no need to reorganize the logistical system, and maintenance costs are much lower than those of the Su-30, which is the most costly aircraft in the country. On the other hand, its Russian-made L-31F engine is compatible with Indonesia's existing Su-2730s fleet, so there is no need to reconstruct the logistics system, and the maintenance cost is much lower than that of Rafale. More far-reaching is that J-10 is given the role of technology springboard. China provides J-10 upgrade program through the replacement of active phased array radar, turbofan 10B engine, and PL-15 missiles can be upgraded to quasi 4.5 generation level. This path of solving the problem of availability first and then gradually upgrading provides a rare flexibility for Indonesia, which has a limited budget. However, Indonesia's ultimate choice is not simply a comparison of technology or cost, but an extreme interpretation of the art of geo-balancing. At the same time, the operation of Chinese, French, Russian, and American warplanes, while exacerbating the confusion of the universal brand, has also become a talisman for maneuvering among the major powers. The choice of Rafale can avoid excessive dependence on China, especially in the South China Sea, to maintain security ties with the West in sensitive areas, while retaining the J-10 option, not only for the future to reserve cost-effective channel, but also continue to pressure the French to squeeze more technology transfer. This two-sided bet to reap the dividends of Chinese and French technology at the same time. France to open up the radar source code, China's commitment to assist in the development of warplanes, and even to promote the local currency settlement covering the military trade, so that Indonesia from the buyer to the collaborator, the quiet transformation of Indonesia from buyer to partner. The end game of this game, indicating the global military trade power structure of the profound reorganization. Although the J-10C did not directly win the order, but its performance in the field is like a sharp blade, piercing the pricing hegemony and technology altar of the long-term monopoly of Western weapons. France was forced to imitate China's technology for the market strategy, Dassault to Indonesia, to transfer the core code of the compromise, the essence of the Eastern competitors in disguise, homage, and China's first fighter jet whole life service package. China's first fighter jet whole life service package to provide maintenance, ammunition, training, claiming to reduce life cycle costs by 45%, more directly hit the pain points of developing countries, forcing the West to re-examine its only sell hardware, not sell the system, traditional model. When Macron left Jakarta with the additional purchase agreement, this profit concessions and technology leaks in exchange for the victory, in fact, is the prelude to the collapse of the old order. And for Indonesia, J-10 is a lever to pry the great powers to make concessions to the wisdom to prove that, in the chess game of military trade, small countries can also leverage to play the game of power rewritten for the art of survival. After all, there is no eternal art, the game is not eternal, but it's not a game of survival. The art of survival, after all, there is no eternal weapons myth, only the price and loyalty can always be redefined.